Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday. I hope you'll be joining us for this week's live with Red Dot Diva, or rather this month. Actually, it's a week earlier. I'm Red Dot Diva. If you're not familiar with me, I'm a Singapore lifestyle and entertainment pop culture blogger. I've been doing this been about 10 years. It's amazing how time flies. Today, I have a guest that I got to know recently, and we have been bonding about a lot of things, DC comics, and even about our work. And her name is Nicolette Lee. You might find her familiar if you are a local comic book reader and have your own anthology called Sound. And she's here to share about her experiences about how to pitch a comic because she has one of her comics in that book. So, hello, welcome to the live stream, Nicolette. How are you today? You're still muted.
I
Yes.
completely forgot. Great to see you. I'm doing well. How are you today?
Good. How are you today?
I'm very excited. I love the idea of being able to talk about comics and how they're made. You always see them on the shelf. You don't see like the behind the scenes where everyone's panicking to meet the deadline.
All right, for those who are not familiar with you, because they haven't picked up this book yet, introduce yourself and tell us more about how you got into this kind of like niche of comics creating, and especially in Singapore, it's kind of rare.
It is, yeah. Well, for everyone who's just seeing me for the first time, hi, my name's Nicolette. You can call me Nikki. I go by one name, Nick, on most of my social media handles. I have been making webcomics since I was a teenager, but it was only until recently when I decided to go for it, absolutely try to make comics in print. So in around 2019, I started trying to contact small publications and things like that, sending them rough ideas for stories. And I ended up in a couple international self-publications. And Sound would be my first big major publication anthology, and one that you can see in major retailers and bookstores. So I'm very excited for that.
My question though, I think I did mention that you are a solicitor by day, comic book creator by night.
Oh yes,
Bad girl.
It's like the thrilling double life of Batman, only with more sleep deprivation.
Do you find that your work helps you with your writing and your drawing?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It kind of does. You end up seeing a lot of basically what I do is mostly family law, and in that line of work, you end up seeing so many different people and their families and how they live their lives.
And
I think
the family dynamics.
exactly, and there's like a real sense of what other people are like, and there's real human emotion and that ability to come into contact with someone else. I love that. With a lot of my work, I try to embody the same thing. Like, I want to write realistic stories about how people relate to other people. That's part of the joy of like meeting others. Yeah.
That's one of the things I found interesting in your story and Sound. Difference, in case people can't see, this is the book.
I'm so glad you have a copy of the book just like right there for display. Everyone grab your Sound.
You must pimp out. Southeast Asian pride. And your story inside, which is called Hokkien for Beginners, like a short story about family as well, and you're talking about family dynamics in your work. My question is that, was this kind of a semi autobiographical thing, or is that, you know, kind of a story belonging to my friend, just saying, or is it something really, really personal?
Oh man, when when people ask whether or not it's autobiographical, like the correct answer is no. the But I would be lying if I said it didn't come from a personal place. Like my grandma herself was a Hokkien speaker, and I had a lot of difficulty with that. Uh, but of course, if you know me in real life, absolutely not. But I must say, like sound. This pitch for sound was definitely based on a was definitely based on a struggle. Like I think you I think I had for quite some time. Like being monolingual in Singapore is really, really hard. And I think that kind of frustration was something that I really wanted to put into print to show it. There's something really wonderful about comics in that it's one thing for me to tell you, oh, I the dyslexia test, that for sure was something that happened to me. So it's bits and pieces, but it's one thing for me to tell you, oh, I got pulled into an office and I was told I might need some professional help for my inability to read Chinese, and it's another thing for me to put it down on paper and for you to experience the emotion with her at the same time. I think there's something powerful about that.
It's a test, I mean, I have problems with Chinese as well. Uh, but then I always thought that because it was culturally so, in the sense that my mom is heavily Peranakan, so they speak like a jumbo mix of Malay, Hokkien, and my mom and my dad somehow was speaking English. They were both from mission schools, and they didn't speak Mandarin, which was weird because my father had a big Chinese family, very Chinese family, and he was like the first sons out of many, right, to go to a mission school instead of a school that was primarily Chinese speaking. So he also adopted a Christian name because it was a mission school. And
Aww.
my mom and my dad conversed with each other in English when they were
Yeah.
dating. So I grew up in this very English speaking household and had trouble learning Mandarin since I was so young. Also, basically, because Mandarin is not culturally our language, I picked up
Exactly.
your story as well because my mom, my grandma who was looking after us is partially Peranakan. So she speaks Hokkien in a very non-traditional way, not the correct Hokkien, like the very
Yeah, yeah.
correct Hokkien. It's a very local Hokkien. And
Mm.
uh, I'm lucky enough that because she brought me up, so I could pick up certain phrases and words to communicate with her. And so therefore our bond wasn't so fractured. But 5 years later, when my sister was born, she was not able to pick up Hokkien. So it's kind of like
Mm.
the relationship is not as strong because of how
Mm.
communication. But my grandma understands a bit of English, but she can't speak it. So but yeah, I feel that the new generation with the older generation, I feel sad because actually dialects is part of our culture here rather
I
than
agree.
and we have lost so much because we can't speak the Teochew, Hokkien or Hakka, Hainanese even, but our grandparents used to speak. It's lost because there's so many stories that even like poems or history related to that. Right? I think it's that, and I hope that one day it will come back. I mean, the Mandarin can be one thing, and then the dialects can be another. That's what I hope. I don't know.
Yours Yeah, you're so right. Like, there's like a ton of like archival stuff that we absolutely have no access to anymore, like radio plays in Hokkien and in dialect. Like, yeah, movies that were filmed in dialect that people can't appreciate. Oh, we had like a whole thriving cinema industry that simply died overnight the moment like it wasn't economically sustainable to have multiple dialects in
Most
Singapore.
like for a while, they actually had it on Rediffusion as well, like Hokkien
Mm,
broadcast or dialect broadcast, and then that stopped as well. I mean, if you wonder why the old people are lonely and all that, because they can't communicate with the rest of the people and only among their certain generation, and they are dying as well. So it's kind of sad.
it is. It's tragic. And my gripe is that it's often like framed as a personal failure for the younger generation when really like you can't expect someone to learn Chinese and frame it as their mother tongue when their mothers themselves don't have that tongue.
Exactly.
It's difficult. It's really hard.
Forced, yeah, we felt forced. It's not natural. And I guess inside of us, our souls reject it as well, like spirit rejects it. So I found it very difficult to learn Mandarin when I was young. So now I only have like a passing conversational level. it's I can't help it. I tried, but so many years of tuition, but meh, cannot
I
make it.
feel that. That really sucks, but the way you said your soul rejects it, that's so beautiful.
Okay, anyway,
Yeah.
back to HOKKIEN for beginners. So therefore, I was wondering, was it somebody who actually opened up the opportunity for you, or then again comes to our topic of this live stream? Did you pitch your comic to different studios?
Yes.
Yes, you did. Right. So
Yeah.
over to you and to tell us, give us all a bit of the tips on like how do you do that? What are the do's and don'ts of pitching a comic?
Mm. Well, I think what getting someone to open the door for you would be incredible. Having a friend in the industry tell you, "Oh, by the way, they're taking pitches." I would have killed for that. The fact remains that I went to law school, and no one in law school really knows anything about comics. Uh, but the thing is, once I graduated and once I was I had finished the bar and I was like waiting to be called. That was that I had that amazing opportunity, that gap in time to like to try to get myself out there. So that was 2019, and I was effectively like looking at all kinds of websites, all kinds of listings, directories, following like comic
Mm,
book people and trying my best to like read every opportunity I could find. So if you're if you have artist friends, self-publishing a comic
yeah.
isn't too difficult.
Yeah.
Like you could try and get it done on Kickstarter and all sorts of things. um Late into 2019, early 2020, I got oh, I just knocked something over there. I got picked up for the Girls Who Love Monsters
Oh yes,
anthology.
yeah, I saw that
Yeah,
on your.
yeah, it's very fun. It's so glossy. But that's one of the images in the preview. But it's through these methods you end up like growing your social circle, learning more about what's necessary in a comic. And so that was the period where I started to learn, if you want to get a comic into these anthologies, you have to know how to pitch it. And
Mm.
so yeah.
Wait, let me pause around there before you go further into that. So for those who love monsters, basically you are saying that you trod through the social media to see whether there were people opening up pictures for stories that were, in line with your style and with your storytelling genre.
Yeah,
So that's what you did. Wow. And that took a long time.
it it that's the thing. Uh it took a couple months, but
Mm.
I think what took longer wasn't finding the opportunity so much as getting one, like the initial push to try
Okay.
and like to try and to try and get connected in the first place.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, so I'm really lucky I stumbled upon a website called Paper Cat Press, and that lists out comics that are accepting pitches, especially
Okay.
with big anthologies.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it from there it was pretty easy to get into like individual zines. For the bigger anthologies, like like I was in the Moonlight Werewolf anthology. Yeah, that was that was really fun. So when I believe I found them through social media, and then from there, one of the artists on Moonlight was also pitching for Girls Who Love Monsters. So
Oh, you know, it's
it
like all connected. And you got a connection.
exactly, you get your initial connection, then from there you try and build upon that,
Mm.
and so getting I must say one of my favorite genres of things to write for are um, uh, like adaptations of folklore and taking aspects of that and putting it in the modern day. So one of my favorite folk tales is Beauty and the Beast, like
Mm.
Anne Thompson 425, and that genre had a bit of a renaissance in 2018
Yes.
after The Shape of Water. Yeah, so get finding people who were quite like-minded and who wanted to explore similar things in that category, it was a joy. Like you found one and then you easily find another.
Yeah, I know, right? Like once you find a person that has like that an inroad into that particular field, and then you start to connect to each other. It reminds me of the days of fandom in pop culture where you don't even have Twitter or you don't even have um Facebook during my time. Actually, I'm that old. So
Oh,
basically, so basically, we got to know each other through website forums. Really like bulletin boards. Okay, before that there was something else too. I am that old, but I shan't talk about that because if I talk about that a lot of you
ye old internet.
it was like bulletin boards, right? And we kind of like, okay, I really love this show a lot, and we get in, and then we connect with people, and your social circle, internet wise, just grows so much because of certain things. I do connect with what you're saying. Also, for you out there, do get yourself out in the social media in a way that is healthy and practical to your achievements or your goals. Because if you hide yourself, nobody's gonna know who you are.
It's true. Like if you're young and on the internet, finding a fandom space can be very interesting, but always, get that boundary in.
Yeah,
But
and
when
about
you're older, finding fandom and finding people who like the same things you do, it's amazing because the older you get, the harder it is to find friends,
my
I find.
I agree. I agree. So then,
Mm.
after you have connected with these people, how did you learn how to pitch your comic correctly in a way that you get yourself inside that book?
We're very lucky right now because a lot of comic artists are sharing tips and tricks on how to pitch. But in 2019, it was still a bit of a wild west. So, yeah, so a lot of it was trial and error. When uh, I first started to pitch in around 27, no, 2018, late 2019. So I had a bit of a gap in between the bar course, and
Mm,
so I tried to send it to a local Singaporean publisher, and they didn't have any specifications about what they wanted, what they needed. So I just simply like wrote down the entire story in a PDF and like slapped on all my concept art and sample pages, and I shot it off to them, and they came back with some constructive criticism. Like they were really excited to take my project, but could you please explain more about this, or what's going on here? What's this? And at the end of the day, like I started to learn exactly what it is you need to tell people, and from there, you kind of begin to learn what the necessary components of a pitch. Yeah, I'm sad to say that the posting schedule for the Singaporian publisher didn't work out in terms of the bar course. I was struggling for time, so I had to drop the project. But from there, I did have the beginnings for the components of a pitch. And from there, it was a lot of trial and error to all the different anthologies, and you start to see what people pick up on. And nowadays, a lot of that trial and error has borne fruition. A lot of comic artists will talk about what's necessary in a comic pitch and things like that. And back then, it was like a wild west. You had no idea what they wanted. But if we can share screen, I can
put it up and I'll share it.
Hell yeah!
You know what you have condensed as the components of a successful pitch.
I'm share screen.
Did you find the screen share? All right.
Hello. Welcome to my whiteboard.
Yeah.
my little clown buddy. But so the components of a pitch would be your cover page, and that is that would be the your understanding would be, this is the cover for my comic. This is the I have to go and make the entire cover for my graphic novel right now. But that's not the case. You can just use some of the art that's from the inside. It's fine. It's the cover page just needs to be indicative of the final result. That's all. When in the early days, I was freaking out about trying to make the cover just perfect, and it made.
Oops, we lost.
There we go.
The signal got lost. Your share screen. Yeah.
You need a description, and this would be your second page. You would have a single line. This is called your tagline. It's a 1 to 2 quick sentence summary of your entire story. In the tagline, you might want to put in the genre. You might want to put in the main conflict, but most importantly, you must put in the characters and what they want. So, aside from that, you would be looking at a blurb as well. This is a 3-paragraph summary of what's happening in your story. The blurb is normally quite short. This is just what you would expect to read if you had picked up this book in a comic book shop. But that's the rub. That's what people are going to tell you. This is what people who have come out the other side of graphics of graphic novel pitching will tell you. But when you're pitching to anthologies, which was the case with Sound, they were like, no, just give us the whole story. Give us everything in detail. And so let me just pull it up. this is my pitch to sound. And
Wow.
it goes all the way into
Oh, that's
2
really
pages.
beautiful.
It's
Yeah.
long, it's long. And you have your character art, and basically it
Is this usual? Is this usual for publishers to ask for that much detail?
I think it depends on the publisher.
Okay.
Different Engine were very accommodating, because I was still pretty new when I was still pretty new to pitching when I went to them, but I knew I knew, like, you had to put in your description, you had to put in the you uh the concept art, sample pages, things like that. Difference Engine was so great; they listed down exactly what they wanted to see.
Oh, okay, that helps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that helped so much. Being able to know what your publisher wanted,
Yeah.
so you can instantly, like, say, yeah, here it is, I prepared it, dump it in. Yeah, that was so good. With short story anthologies, you end up having to describe more.
Mm.
With when you're There's a distinction between pitching to directly to publishers for short story anthologies and pitching directly to agents.
Mm.
And a lot of the help that you're going to get online right now is pitching to agents. Agents don't have the kind of free time to read through your whole story, but a short story publisher is going to have to curate exactly what they get, and to know what they want to put in. So I looking back in hindsight, I would have been a lot more brief, but with but in terms of what you'd expect for a anthology series, I think more is more sometimes.
Yeah. I guess they also want to make sure that it fits into the idea of what this whole book is supposed to be like. Like, has it got the sound element, like some, which is what it's supposed to be, like sound of this region in
It's true. Sound is definitely one of those anthologies. The moment I saw what they wanted, like, it clicks. Like, I knew exactly what I wanted to send them. But for others, it's harder. It's very hard. Like, I remember pitching to a historical anthology, and I was I was struggling for like a time period, because I knew, like, all the popular ones, like the Jane Austen time period, that Regency era. Yeah, that'd be taken. And if you wanted to talk about like something unique from your local perspective, what else is there except like the colonial era or like the early days of independence? Everyone loves that. Everyone loves that so much. Like, we struggle, but you want, like, trying to find your voice, trying to find something unique to bring to the table. It's always like an alchemy. Like, you either perfect it at that moment, like, I know what I want to do it, or you're going to spend like a week rolling about with 3 different concepts, like, I don't know which one's best. But
what after the blurb, is there anything else to add?
woohoo, yes, there is. Thank you so much. There would be your art, which,
Would you please share screen again?
thanks for letting me know. There would
Yay.
be your art. So, like, you've seen, there was cover art for Hokkien for Beginners, and aside from that, it would help to have like character art. Who is this character? A short description, and if you can, you bring in your thumbnails, which are rough ideas of how you want to do each page. And yeah, if this is your time to shine, because if you prepare like the sample pages, you slap in those sample pages. You tell them, this is what my work looks like. So you ideally want 1 to 5 sample pages. Different anthologies will tell you they're looking for different looking for different samples. Some want a whole some want a whole chapter, and yeah, if you're going to see a lot of publishers asking for a lot of different things. So uh, if it if you see a publisher who wants 30 pages from you before you even print, run. Do not go for that. A couple sample pages, they're fine. But in most, and if you're pitching directly to an anthology series, odds are they may just want your thumbnails and one finished sample page. Don't do more work than you have to. You're not being paid for that.
Yeah, it's true.
It's true. There's a pitfall when you're a young artist. You're like, I want to show off as much as I can so
Yeah.
people will pick me, but
Yeah.
that doesn't always help. That's one thing I think we all struggle with. Like trying to overextend yourself and knowing your boundaries as an artist. Other things that might help you stand out would be would be knowing who you're pitching to. I've mentioned before that you have to tailor make what you want to your publisher, and it helps if your publisher actually tells you what they want. But usually, you might be able to guess based on on who they are. So there are 3 different kinds. One would be agents.
Yeah.
These are the most common ones. Most of the help you'll find online is about pitching to agents, because the agents themselves will tell you, "Oh, I've written this article about stuff that you should do when you pitch to your graphic novel."
Yeah.
And it's always written by agents or people who write to agents. They are the backbone of the industry. They take your comic and they show it to publishers. So usually what they want are a traditional cover page, blurb, and your sample pages. And they want a few. They want to see that you're an artist capable of doing work. So you must be prepared to pitch to someone with a short attention span. Right, very few words, lots of art, and you have to make sure that it pops, it stands out. So even though agents will tell you exactly what they want on their website, some agents will tell you what genres they prefer, as well as what's the word for it? What kind of themes and similar stories they like. For example, if someone tells you, I really like Ghibli movies and things like that, you know exactly what kind of stories they would be interested in and whether you're a good fit. If you write horror, don't pitch to them. Yeah. So make sure it fits them. Some of them, especially the big ones, they don't have time, so you'll want to keep things succinct. But yeah, but sometimes they'll tell you, "Oh, I want to know all about your characters," and so you have to be prepared. Like, here's the text I saved for so and so. He's our cool hero. He's got a sword. Yes. Be prepared to copy and Control V that stuff directly into your pitch to them. The other one would be pitching directly to publishers. Usually, publishers, they'll do these things called open calls, and the open calls will be broadcasted on social media and on newsletter websites like Papercat Press. And from there, the open calls will usually have specifications on what they want in their pitch. So be sure to follow that. This is similar to what I did for Difference Engine. When Difference Engine did an open call, I basically tailor-made my pitch based on what they were looking for. So I wrote out it felt like filling up a form. But in an open call, like I said, you want to show them that you are a good fit for them, and they will be putting a little more time and effort into reading what you have to say. So you can be prepared to be a bit more verbose. They want to know exactly what happens in the in the amount of time that they've given to you. So if you're going to say, I want 18 pages for this, you should at least show them why you deserve 18 pages for your story.
Got it. Interesting.
Yeah, the last one would be pitch events. And you'll see these all over Twitter. They started popping up in the late 2010s, and they'll be under hashtags like PitNet and DVPit.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Take note, people. If you really want the comic out,
go through these hashtags. You'll find out the successful pitches, and you're basically condensing your entire pitch into a single Twitter post, and using that hashtag. Yeah, and your samples will have to be here. It's tough because suddenly you're going from lots and lots of information to the Twitter word limit. It's tough. It's really tough. But through pitch events, I managed to meet a lot of different people, and it's great because you really see the community, and you get to see who else is out there looking for the same opportunities you are, and it always helps to make a friend.
Yeah.
So the experience of pitching through all of these, right? It definitely felt like you are learning the pros and cons to each of these events. And I'm sure there are many other ways to get yourself out there, but these are the most common, popular ways that I've seen.
What's your success rate for each?
Oh, man. So I've had the best luck with open calls. I really enjoy being able to throw in a pitch comic idea because it's a short amount of time that you're attached to this project. You are there for about half a year to a year, on and off, and you only really have to be there for the check-ins. So as long as you tick all their boxes, you have the story and the art to back up yourself, the publisher will likely get back to you. With agents, it's a lot like pitching into the ether. It's you're just like sending your story out with a wing and a prayer, really, and you don't know whether or not they'll get back to you. But I must say, I've been getting mostly I've been mostly getting rejections from this. It's a very tough time. But agents are difficult agents are difficult to pitch to. But they're the most traditional way to get yourself out there. What else with agents it's very easy to get disheartened. I have to say it. It's really sad, but at the same time, they're people with busy lives, and they're going through a lot of pitches, and you have to realize the rejection is not meant to be personal. But when they do give you something like a response, right? They took the time to say, "Oh, dear Nicolette, I think what you did was great. Please feel free to contact me the next time you have something that might fit me better." Whoa, that's a win. You take even your losses as a win.
Well, at least you got your work out there for someone to take notice. I mean, it has to start somewhere,
It has. Yeah. I really recommend, if you're at a beginner stage, to go for a pitch event. There's very little you really have to set aside, like in terms of a time. Just take note of the dates for your pitches, and then when the time comes, you just put out your tweet and like like, hey everyone, this is my comic book, and it just takes you in the time it takes to send out this tweet, you've got a pitch, and now you wait to see if a publisher likes it, and from there you might be able to get in contact with a publisher who's actually interested in your work from the get-go. Yeah, I've managed to pitch to a couple agents in that time.
You kind of fit into, there's a kind of like synergy in a sense like, I don't know where some people might call it fate. It fits kind of at that right time, at that right point, you know.
I agree. I really agree. It If they find you, maybe you've been brought together. Go seize that opportunity and do something with it. That's the tough part. But
All right, before I ask you the next question, anybody out there who has a question, please feel free to post a comment. I know some of you are kind of lurking. Feel free to post your questions, and we'll try to get back to you since Nicolette is here, and she has tried a lot of pictures in different channels. My question is, what are the key things that people should avoid when trying to pitch a comic? Regardless, regardless of which who they are trying to pitch.
things to avoid. I think, like I said, pitching is kind of a hit and miss thing. You're gonna go through a lot of trial and error, and you will make the mistakes anyway. But I think the best advice you can for things to avoid would be knowing. You have to know who you're pitching to, and from there you learn how to avoid things, because you don't want to send something overly verbose to someone who won't have the time to read it, or you don't want to send a genre of book to someone who doesn't want to be able to deal with them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Another don't, right, would be to wear yourself out really quickly. I struggled with this because my thought was, if I send 10, 20 pitches like at a go, like I spread my net wide, eventually someone will get back to me. I found I have better success when I just do 1 to 5, like 1 to 5 at a go, and just send them out to different agents, different publishers. If you have an in, that'd be great, but usually you're going in cold, and you don't want to spend that much time writing a generic pitch and sending it out to different people. You want to be able to tailor make it directly to what they want, and hopefully, because they've never seen you before, you have addressed exactly what they need, so they'll be able to move on from there and contact you. Yeah,
that's interesting. Not to wear yourself out there. Because some people are very enthusiastic, and they're trying so hard to be noticed. It's easy to just go on and on without thinking about whether that what you've been doing actually
it's true.
Success.
It's really true. Right now, from what I've been seeing, right, we have a bit of a renaissance in the like a print graphic novel industry. A lot of the publishers are looking for YA graphic novels, and
it's
like even DC, you've seen their slant towards YA in the past. Yeah. I think there's untapped potential there if you remember not to rely too much upon your story itself. There are people out there there are people out there who really want to get the graphic novel pitches in. They want to see what you have to offer them. So don't worry too much about there being no market for your work. You don't have to rely too much on the story itself. Remember to have confidence in the art that you bring as well. So I think a common problem that I see is people who spend a lot of time describing the story that they're trying to tell, and odds are, you have an interesting story, that it's not been done before, or that it's a brand new take on it. You can summarize that very succinctly. You can tell them, yes, it's not been done before because bah.
Yeah.
You don't need to tell us the whole thing. And I think what they're looking for is your ability as an artist to be able to work efficiently, work quickly, and at the same time come out with good work.
Yeah.
So having the concept art, the previous work that you've done, that speaks for itself.
So do you think that people should have at least like a finished product before the pitch, or that a rough idea about 60%, let's say, would be enough?
Okay. Considering the fact that you want to spread your net wide, I don't fault people for wanting to have a product that is about 75% done. But odds are, if you're pitching to a publisher, if you were a writer writing to a publisher to write a novel, your novel had to have been finished. You had to have a whole 100% manuscript. Yeah.
Unless they are paying you like a sum before that, and commit your delivery by then, which means that you are usually an established writer.
Yeah, you have to have a full manuscript when you send it off. That's the benefit of being a comic artist, because when you do a comic pitch, they won't be looking for a whole completed comic manuscript. The amount of time and effort it takes to make a finished comic, it's so intense. They won't be expecting that from you. You just need a few sample pages, your like an understanding of what happens from start to finish, and the ability to summarize that. You'll be fine. But of course, pitch a story that has an ending in mind. If you go in blind and you're coming up with a story that's constantly changing, once you're on the project, everyone will know. Everyone will know you're the flake who can't finish her work on time or had to change her story last minute. Like, you do not want to be that person.
Yeah. So basically, the concept on your mind and in the direction has to be strong, even though you might not have it all done yet.
It's true. You want to be able to look at someone in the eye and say, I know exactly where this goes. Because at the end of the day, I think having fully realized character arcs, having a story that is ready from start to finish, you'll know the themes of your story. And perhaps this goes into something that's quite helpful for people pitching as well. Yeah, hang on. Let me pull it up. Brand new Chrome tab, brand new page on share screen, because some things to help you stand out, right? To make you like really stand out. You want to be like a little champion boy. Yeah. You want to have some things that they may not be expecting from you would be timelines. If you include in your pitch, by the way, this is how fast I work. I take about this will be a 15-page comic. If you want me to do pencils, I'll take about 3 weeks. Yeah. Or I'll take about 5 weeks. Always give yourself extra buffer time. Yeah. If you tell them your timelines and how fast you work, you're not trying to show off I work very quickly. You're trying to show that I know my speed and I know that I can get you something finished. That's the most important thing. You're not trying to show off how fast you are. It's okay if you're not fast. But having timelines in your pitch can sometimes show that you know what you're talking about. Another thing that might be helpful would be explaining the genre of to your publisher, so you know exactly what your, perhaps the best word to use is audience. Know your audience. When you pitch, of course you will be telling your the production house, the agent, what genre it is. You know exactly what genre it is. Maybe it's like one or two genres. It could be like a fairy tale, a horror mashup, like Pan's Labyrinth, or Shape of Water. I love guilt horror stuff. Yeah, but you also want to be able to explain what the themes are too. So this is where it becomes crucial for you to know what the finished product is, because you want to know exactly what happens to dude A who has a sword. You want to tell them, oh, he loses his wife and kids, so he's sad. Yes.
Oh no.
Yes. But then he gets 2 swords. Yeah, so he's happy again. Yeah. You want to be able to tell them, oh, this is his progression. It's about loss, and it's about getting over it. Yes. And so from your theme, you'll be from having a completed story, you'll at least be able to talk about themes with your audience as well. What will help you stand out in a pitch would be being able to look the person in the eye and say, I know exactly who would want this. It's for guys who collect anime swords. Yes, this story is for people who collect anime swords. But it could also be, I understand that this work would be great for a YA audience, because a lot of teens are going around questioning, like, is a sword right for me? You know? You should be able to say what kind of story you're telling and why it would work for your publisher and why it would sell. So that's very important, being able to have that knowledge in mind when you pitch. And usually that comes from having a finished piece.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I found that so interesting, because as I say, I'm kind of like, I mean, I don't really have a story in mind right now, but I was just interested to see how people actually teach others to pitch a story or a comic. And as you said, most of them were the workshop type, pitching to agents and, pitching to, let's say, a very big name industry, comic book name. And they were very clinical. Whereas I thought that your tips were actually very, not only practical, but also brings to question for the creator who's going to listen to this live broadcast or later post live stream. When you bring your comic to the table, what are you trying to achieve? Basically, what's the story that you want to tell that is worth for the world to read and to know and to appreciate? I think you brought that up in your drawings and your tips, and that's one of the very crucial things I feel about storytelling and as a storyteller. Because if you were just to take like words, it becomes like just words and pictures if you don't have meaning to them that you feel strongly about. That's what I feel. And as a reader, if you read something that the creator feels strongly about, and that's how you actually connect with them as well. I think that brings about and how you pitch that and how you bring it to the person who's going to publish your story.
It's very true.
In this live stream, I really appreciated that.
This was really fun, like being able to come on the live stream and being able to share with you as well. Yeah, like I think I think the key thing going forward is, I think what we brought up at the very beginning, like, is this a personal story for you? Know exactly the kind of story that you're telling, because you, authors, as well as are the same as any other people. They go through life absorbing experiences and absorbing emotions and, like, things that they wish to convey. Being able to put that down on paper such that other people can understand it,
Yeah.
that is key to a pitch, but also key to the experience of writing in the very first place.
And
Yeah.
to share that as a, international cult, like a humanity, like sharing these experiences with each other so that we are able to grow individually as well as a whole. As well as, I think it's like, 5 minutes before that time. So before I kind of like go for my outro,
Hell yeah.
I have this question, and I did ask you before, and I think everyone is now very curious since you have brought your little hero onto the screen just now. Okay, could you show him again? I think some people might not know, what I mean because they're not familiar with the word hero.
Yes, of course. Hey,
Yep.
well, to make a Piero, you make a big round dumpling shape, right? And then you put in the very center a big honking nose. Either side of that are his little eyes and his little mouth. And he has a tiny body, but he's a big boy. Yes, he's a big growing boy. And he's got a little gingerbread man body. And he's got a hat. The hat is very important. That's how you know that
So when you included
he's
him
a
in
professional.
the promo graphics that you kind of did for this live stream, and I asked you like, what is he? Is he a bear or an otter or something like that?
Yes.
And you told me that you decided to design Piero. So please
His
share
name,
with the rest. Although I know the origin story, like why do you choose him as a
yes.
logo, your mascot?
Okay, straight up, it's because a, a Piero is a French character. He appears in traditional stage plays. He's a comic character, and you'll see him most commonly today as a kind of clown. I adore clowns. I think that they are very, very sweet. There's a I I when I first started out making this character, he was a little doodle in one of my law books, and I just thought he was such a charming little creature. I ended up giving him these. I gave him this big old nose, which the moment I drew it, I thought, oh, that's a clown nose, and so I gave him these little buttons. So he ended up looking like a very simplified version of a Piero, and after that, the hat came next, and the Piero is born. He's a
So
very
for
good
those
boy.
you have a like a phobia for clowns, please remember Piero. She's a much lovable creature compared to what you know in Stephen King's books.
Yes, he's a sweet boy, and he loves you. He's a very sweet boy.
A bad rap nowadays, So I really
They
like.
do.
Oh, he's so cute. I can't, I can't think
The
of
thing about clowns is that there's something. Okay, I must say that I'm a clown stan. I believe that clowns are underappreciated in our modern society because there's something. The entire genre of clowning is an entertainment genre. First of all, they are performers,
Yes,
and
yes.
yes, and so nowadays, even though they're normally related to horror. Like, clowns aren't scary. Clowns weren't meant to be scary. Clowns were meant to be lovable, and or at the very least, they're meant to bring you joy. And
Yeah.
a, a lot of that involves taking pratfalls for you, or like being the victim of their own uh, like slapstick comedy. clowns do a lot to get a chuckle out of people, and I think that's a universal feeling for most writers and artists. It's like I'm doing this for you, and at the end of the day, you're hoping that what I'm doing is enough.
Yeah.
You want to be able to make a clown, like there's very much like a clown. You're hoping to make to make your audience feel something, to make them want to see you. And I like that part about clowns, because clowns are willing to take that kind of punishment for the very simple reward of your own laughter. I love that.
I love that. Thank you, Nicolette, for sharing about the hero. Just like so cute.
He's a very good boy.
Before
Thanks
we
so
wrap
much
up,
for asking.
any other things coming up at your universe?
Well, at the moment, I'm trying to launch a graphic novel, so keep an eye out for that. I'll be announcing my upcoming webcomic very soon. So do follow me on social media, and yes, but you can always find me at Wanling Nick on Twitter and Instagram. You can. I'll be sure to drop my more information about my upcoming projects on social media. Be sure to
Yeah.
give me a follow, and thank you so much for your interest and for being able to sit down with me today. I had so much fun on Red Dot Diva.
Thanks, Nicolette. I think we also have plans to meet up. And we're like, oh.
There's no way we can't meet up after this. It's so nice to be able to meet another DC fan.
Stay off screen for a while I tell others what to expect for the coming months on live on Rainleaf.diva. Hold on for a while. I put myself on screen. Ta-da! You guys see me again. I'm really excited about October's live streams. First of all, there is a Halloween special called Scare Tactics. And I've already announced that on my Facebook page with a Facebook event. So if you really like to be reminded of when that's going to come on, please click going or interested. It will be moderated by my friend Rainleaf. He's a writer and he's a co-founder of a supernatural narrative podcast which you can find on YouTube as well, called Ghost Maps. And he'll be moderating the whole session. The special guests are people that I find who would be very interesting for the live stream because they are all involved in the horror genre one way or the other. So glad that Elise Schick, who's the producer of Kuman Pictures. Now, if you don't know what Kuman Pictures is, they are a Malaysian indie film company who have been rather successful with their low budget horror films, and one of them is Raw. If you are on Disney Plus, I think, and love horror movies, I'm sure you have probably watched Raw already. One of the reasons why I want to get them on board is the rise of Southeast Asian horror in the recent times, not only in comics or written form, but in film as well. So I'm so happy that she's willing to come on board to join us for this Halloween special. The next is a name that you may be familiar with, which is Nehan Boy, and she's have also written a few books that some of you might already own, like The Messiah Virus, and her most recent, which is the Formidable Miss Cassidy, which is a horror romance book, and that's by Epigram. So you can get that book from Epigram right now. She's also the VP of Association of Comic Artists of Singapore. So she has a lot of experience and she loves the horror genre. So that will be a fun guest to have on board. The next will be Pinoy artist. He's from the Philippines. His name is Kyle Molo. He has a handle called Kolo Comics, KOLOMIKS. So he does a lot of horror genre in his art, and he also has a couple of stories up on Pen Lab. So we have these different types of creators who we are going to talk about the supernatural all over Southeast Asia. all our momos, all our pontianaks, and everything like this. And we are hoping that you will join us because we want to have a really fun, like a online campfire Halloween Eve night kind of thing, celebrating the stories, horror stories that we have in our region, not just in Singapore and Malaysia. And then after that, before that, I have not yet announced, but DC Fandom has already announced their dates. Due to the time difference, I think ours will start like on 17th of October, Sunday. I'm still in the midst of trying to see what their schedule is like on that day. And if everything is all right, we will have a recap live stream on the Sunday afternoon with my friends Eddie and John. If not, it might be the night at the night. We'll see how that goes. But I'll definitely announce that on my Facebook as well. And then in November, I do have a guest, one that would be very familiar to comic book readers, but he's a secret right now, and I'm not going to reveal the name. So look out for that. And there's a lot of interesting things coming out on live with Red or Diva. I'm so glad that you have been supporting this personal project of mine for more than a year, and I hope to keep it going as long as possible, focusing on the Southeast Asian creators that we have in our region and to put a spotlight to them, broadcast it out into the world out there. Either now I have a YouTube channel as well. And if you have someone who is a Southeast Asian creator based here, not just for comics, but he could be a musician or a cosplayer or someone who does craft, someone who creates basically, and he's willing to come on board on my live stream, you can feel free to drop me a comment or an email or Facebook or Twitter because I'm all over the place under this Diva handle. You can find me almost everywhere. I would love to hear from you and to get some names of who to invite for future live streams in 2022. That will be very interesting, I think. So I'm going to bring back Nicolette again, and we're going to say like a proper goodbye to every one of you. And thank you for joining us. I hope you actually learned a lot from Nicolette's very, very useful and illustrative tips on how to pitch your comic. And we hope that you'll be successful in more ways than one when you try to put your stories out there as well. So thank you, Nicolette, for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. This was absolutely fun. I wish all of you the best of luck, and let's keep Singapore full of art.
yeah, keep Singapore vibrant, full of art, full of stories that people will learn how to appreciate. People around the world will learn how to appreciate what we have here, because I feel that we are still very, they're not given enough attention. So it's my goal as well. Right.
It's through our own concerted efforts that we managed to get our work out there, and I think that's the most important or exciting part about being a creator.
Please get one.
Yes.
Southeast Asian fun.
Please read the book.
Read the book. All right. See you again on the next live with Diva, everybody. Bye. Have a good weekend.
Take care.